My name is Father Andrew Chamiec. I'm a priest of the Archdiocese of Westminster, currently serving at the Catholic National Shrine and Basilica of Our Lady at Walsingham in Norfolk, England. Deep within them I will plant my law, writing it on their hearts. Then I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Something of God's laws are planted deep within the human heart. To use a dramatic example, we know it is wrong to kill another person. We can't always explain why. I just know it's wrong, someone might say. This is what is referred to in our Catholic tradition as natural law, something that is intrinsic to our human nature. Other examples would include lying or stealing. These are generally recognised in all cultures as being wrong, even from people who may not have any religious understanding. We will come back to the area of growth later on. Let us now consider the second reading and the theme of sacrifice. During his life on earth, Christ offered up prayer and entreaty aloud and in silent tears to the one who had the power to save him out of death. And he submitted so humbly that his prayer was heard. Although he was Son, he learnt to obey through suffering. But having been made perfect, he became for all who obey him the source of eternal salvation. Christ offered up. The Greek term is closely linked with priestly sacrifices, as in the book of Hebrews. Jesus is the priest. A priest is someone who offers up sacrifices and intercedes for the people. Jesus offers up his life and intercedes and prays for us. And this is what happens at every Mass. The sacrifice of Calvary is once again made present through the words and actions of the priest who is in persona Christi at the Mass. Jesus gives himself completely to us as food under the appearances of bread and wine. We might say a sacred banquet. It is worth noting that even from the cross, Jesus says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing," and offers words of reassurance to the repentant thief. "Today you will be with me in paradise." He also offers his mother to us through John, the beloved disciple. What extraordinary words from a dying man. But we already know, as the centurion says, truly this was the Son of God. So, sacrifice also involves the taking away of sins. In ancient times, there was a goat which was sent out into the wilderness with people's sins, hence the term scapegoat. The lambs were also sacrificed at Passover. Jesus is the new lamb. Jesus' prayers are particularly powerful. It says in the Gospel, his prayer was heard. The Father heeded the prayers of the Son, not by sparing him the experience of death, but by rescuing him from death in the resurrection. So, godly fear, the reverential fear of God that proved stronger in Jesus than his human fear of death, his reverence was manifested as heroic obedience to the will of the Father. There is something here about trying to do God's will in our own lives. It is not always easy to know what God's will is, and a key word is discernment. Discerning good from evil, right from wrong, as exemplified in the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola. One Franciscan said to me when I was discerning something important, "If you see a green light, go through it." There didn't appear to be anything blocking that particular decision, so I did go through that green light. There is a phrase here, obey through suffering. The Ignatius Catholic Study Bible has this to say about it. He learned obedience not by trial and error, but from the experience of passing through the human trials and ordeals that test our commitment to God. Christ, being eternally divine, possessed the fullness of knowledge from the first instant of his conception as a man. He was ignorant of nothing, so he could not learn anything new by simple recognition. But there is also knowledge acquired by experience, and in this sense he learned obedience through what he suffered. Having accepted our weakness, he learned how difficult it is to obey, for he obeyed in the most difficult of circumstances, even unto death on a cross. Obedience is not something that is much talked about these days, and yet it is so important. The armed forces rely on it. It would be highly unusual for a soldier to question orders from their general, for example. Priests and religious take promises and vows of obedience. Religious promise obedience to their superiors, and diocesan clergy to their ordinary or bishop. The three traditional vows of poverty, chastity and obedience are taken by most orders and congregations. Diocesan priests are exempt from the vow of poverty, but nonetheless they are encouraged to try and live a simple and modest life. Jesus offered up prayers for us all. The best gift we can give another person is our prayer. How many times people have asked me, "Father, can you pray for this person or this intention?" I try and remember to pray for people in the Mass. I do also ask people to pray for me. We priests need your prayers too, you know. Praying for other people is not necessarily easy. There may be many distractions, as there often can be in prayer. And yet, intercession is an important aspect of the Christian life. We have bidding prayers at Mass, on Sundays and solemnities. The divine office of the Church includes prayers of intercession both at morning and evening prayer. And the power of prayer can be seen in the lives of the saints. Think of the tears St. Monica shed for her son, St. Augustine, and what a conversion he had. Or the intercessory prayers of St. Therese. She prayed for a notorious murderer in France who was unrepentant until just before his execution, when he asked to kiss the crucifix. This was reported in the papers, and St. Therese read about it and was delighted that her prayers for his conversion had worked. She is also known to answer prayers by showering roses from heaven. Padre Pio is also very popular to pray to, and many of the saints have granted requests to prayer. We will now take a short break. Please join us again in a few minutes as we continue our Lenten reflection. Welcome back to our Lenten reflection for the 5th Sunday of Lent. In the Gospel we read about death and decay, but there is also a theme here of patient or expectant waiting, which leads to growth, a new springtime. Cardinal Newman referred to this in the phrase, the second spring, about the revival of Catholic faith in England during the 19th century. I tell you most solemnly, unless a wheat grain falls on the ground and dies, it remains only a single grain. But if it dies, it yields a rich harvest. Something that is apparent at this time of year is everything springing to life. Spring has sprung, so the saying goes, but only a few months ago, in winter, everything was dead, except, of course, the evergreens. Those bulbs appeared to be doing nothing for months in the ground, but now they are beautiful crocuses, daffodils, tulips. Something was going on even underground in a hidden way, and that is what is often like in the spiritual life. Nothing dramatic may appear to be happening, but a lot in fact is happening, unbeknown to us. A grain of wheat falling to the earth and dying looks though it has come to the end of its life cycle. But in fact, if it dies, if it turns into seed in the earth, it may yield a rich harvest. So it will be with Jesus, with no may about it. From his death will flow the salvation of the world. That's a quote from Father Aidan Nichols. As a planted seed must decay before it sprouts new life, so Jesus must endure death to bring us eternal life. This principle also holds true for disciples, who must die to themselves to receive the fullness of life from God and be channels of life to others. That's a quote from the Ignatius Catholic Study Bible. It is not easy to die to self. People do not like change, particularly when it is difficult, or when faced with some tragedy or unexpected crisis. I have witnessed this time and time again as a priest. It could be the shock of the sudden death of a loved one, the diagnosis of a cancer, a serious accident, the breakup of a relationship, and so on. Also, from my pastoral experience, people are not always appreciative of hearing home truths, but this is necessary for growth. Each of us has a blind side, and often that takes another person to point it out, which is not always pleasant, even embarrassing at times. And growth in the spiritual life can only happen through humility, and yes, even being humiliated in some way. This leads to a growth in self-knowledge and self-understanding. The sacrament of reconciliation or confession is extremely helpful in this regard. I've experienced this firsthand myself. It's a bit like a regular spiritual checkup, or a spring clean, or even a deep clean. By regularly receiving this sacrament, a person can grow in self-knowledge and understanding and virtue. Why? Because of the grace of this sacrament. An example now of conkers. Tom Wright, the biblical scholar, recounts his childhood interest in conkers and having conker fights. Eventually he decided to plant a shiny conker in the ground. He says, Jesus' death will be like sowing a seed into the ground. It will look like a tragedy, the large-scale, fully grown version of the tiny tragedy that a small boy feels at planting one of his largest and best conkers in the ground and never seeing it again. In fact, it will be a triumph, the triumph of God's self-giving love, the love that looks death itself in the face and defeats it by meeting it voluntarily on behalf not just of Israel, but of the whole world, the world represented by these Greeks. The picture of being planted, as we know from Romans chapter 6, was a picture that other early Christians used to explain the meaning of dying with Christ in baptism in faith. Jesus says, "If a man serves me, he must follow me. Wherever I am, my servant will be there too. If anyone serves me, my Father will honour him." Jesus says, "And when I'm lifted up from the earth, I shall draw all men to myself." By these words he indicated the kind of death he would die. Chapter 12, verse 32, "When I am lifted up," refers primarily to the crucifixion of Christ, as indicated in the next verse, but also hints at his resurrection and ascension. The expression recalls the opening line of Isaiah's fourth servant song, which runs from Isaiah 52:13 to 53:12. The whole song is a prophetic depiction of the suffering of the Messiah, who will be exalted and lifted up in the sight of the nations, but only after he is cast down by his own people. Isaiah interprets the humiliation and death of his servant as a redemptive sacrifice for sin. "Draw all men to myself," points to the worldwide acceptance of the gospel. As Isaiah envisioned, the Davidic Messiah as an ensign posted for the ingathering of the nations and the outcasts of Israel. Jesus sees the world gathering around the sign of the cross. That's a quote from the Catechism. Gospel spreads beyond the confines of Israel. As one commentator says, these Greeks approach Philip because seemingly this apostle, who has a Greek name, must have understood Greek and been able to act as interpreter. If that was the case, then this is a very important moment because it means the people of a non-Jewish culture came in search of Christ, which would make the first fruits of the spread of the Christian faith in the Hellenistic world. That's a quote from a Navarre commentary. He will draw all men to himself. His message, gospel, is for all peoples. So we have looked at the themes of growth, obedience, prayer, death, decay and growth again, and Jesus Christ's message being available for all peoples through the sign of his cross. Thank you for joining us. Please join us again next week as we continue our Lenten reflections. I wish you every grace and blessing in this final week of Lent as we prepare for Palm Sunday this coming Sunday and Holy Week and the Triduum afterwards.